Hello and welcome to Flippin Through, the internet's #1 Mad Magazine review, news, and interview channel. That's right, I said interview channel. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Noah Van Sciver, creator of Brown Bear, which you have seen in the Mad Magazine feature, The Strip Club. We talked Mad, we talked Brown Bear, and we talked about projects that he has been working on outside of Mad Magazine. Before we move on, though, check the description. Visit his channel, subscribe to him. He has some really awesome interviews with other cartoonists and illustrators. You're going to learn a lot more than you've ever learned here. I'll tell you that. So also in the description, there is a link to Kilgore, a company that sells his original artwork, and he has some pretty sick original art. So without further ado, let's get going with the first interview from an idiot of the usual gang.
Yeah, so I have this huge collection of Mad magazines, and I'm rereading a lot of them, and then reading new ones that I buy off eBay or at garage sales. Like, the difference now is I'm reading them as an adult, and I'm paying attention to things other than like sophomore humor. Like, I'm looking more at the art and the writing. And a lot of the writing I'm understanding now, and a lot of the visual gags I understand a lot better. So yeah. How did you get working for Mad Magazine? I guess.
Well, it's funny. Like, when I first started doing comics, I would submit stuff all the time to Mad Magazine because that's just what I was doing. I was like sending my comics everywhere, and I got like no response ever from Mad. And then I just continued on with my little cartooning career. And on Twitter, one of the editors wrote to me and was like, "Hey, how come you never submitted anything to Mad?" I was like, "I've been like submitting to you guys forever." So they had like a section called Strip Club.
Yeah.
They brought in like a bunch of cartoonists of my generation, like Box Brown and Phil McAndrew, and I just started pitching strips to them, and it took a while. It was actually kind of a excruciating experience. So a lot of bad stuff.
Yeah. So Brown Bear, that was something that you created specifically for Mad Magazine.
Yeah.
Like when I pulled out all the issues that I have with your work in it, which that was like during my main collecting phase, so I had all of them. I love it because it's very dark and very simple. Some of it's dark, some of it's just sort of like absurd. Like thinking of, I don't know how well you remember these strips, but I think like the first one, it's like he's sitting next to a pie. And he's like, "Well, these lines mean it's hot." And then he pulls out a severed head and there's three stringy hairs.
I remember that. Yeah. That was the very first one.
It was. What I like about that is I like going through a lot of the ones from like the 60s and 70s. There's like Duck Edwing. He had like all of it had to do with murder and torture, but they were kind of cloaked in this sort of like these silly big nose characters, and they all always smile. So it kind of reminded me of that kind of like old school, 4 to 6 panel cartoons that they were producing for a really long time.
Right. I had a really sick sense of humor when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
Very sick. So,
as a fan of Mad Magazine, I just imagine that everybody who works for Mad Magazine, like that is their like the final stop. Like they're like, I've made it, but I understand that's like not realistic. How did that feel to work for Mad? Was that something that you did want to accomplish?
Yeah, you kidding me? Absolutely, because it's everywhere. Like, that magazine was everywhere, like every grocery store. So I'm a big time fan of Harvey Kurtzman.
Yeah.
One of my all-time heroes. I have a picture of him right next to my desk.
Well, what picture is it?
I'll show you. I actually bought it off of on eBay. this is a little hot tip for you.
Yeah.
A lot of newspaper offices are closing down, so they're getting rid of like all the photographs that they had on file for like if there happened to be a story about Harvey Kurtzman, they'd use this photo.
Yeah.
So I went on eBay and looked up Harvey Kurtzman file photos, and I bought this one because his life was really hard, and he has such a pained expression.
Yeah.
You see that? Yeah. So I stare at that all the time. It's so beautiful. It's such a great picture. And he's just a big hero of mine. Like I love his artwork. I love his storytelling. And he was just a genius. He was so smart. So
that's
it's
funny.
Like I've never seen that photo, but there are all these other photos of him that are like so silly,
and
where he's like kind of like hamming it up, like he has
the pipe
where he's blowing. I think that's like the photo when you
yeah.
his name.
And so
that's very interesting.
It's like a serious, sad photo. That's why I had to get it, because it's just like, this is like the reality of the pressure this man was under. It's like after Mad, the rest of his life was just scrambling to meet that success that he had with that, and it must have been excruciating, because you're not sure. Like maybe every person just has one brilliant idea, and maybe that was his, and he could never recreate that, As much as I love everything else he did, but I'm saying, like, in his own head, maybe that's what he was thinking. Maybe it was just the whole time, the rest of his life, just like, I fucking blew it,
Yeah.
Well, it can't be, as far as like from a creative standpoint, can't be a good mindset to be in, where you're just like feeling that your best day is behind you.
I mean, like,
I'm sure that
like
athletes who find success really on feel that too, where it's like, wait, I was on the Super Bowl team like the year I was drafted. Like, what do I do now?
The best.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I never thought about that. It's like for like an athlete, like your best years literally are in your 20s or something, and then you just kind of have to make it off of whatever success you're able to get from that. The rest of, like, you open a car dealership that has your name on it or something,
Yeah.
They have a couple of those where I'm from.
Yeah. Well, that's so. To answer your question, though, really, like when I got the first issue of Mad that had my comic in it, it was like it's amazing. I was just like, holy! I'm sure I would like when change my bio, like usual gang of idiots, like yeah. It was incredible, but there's also like a lot of pressure, because then like you have one and you're like, all right, but now I got to keep this up.
Yeah.
It was hard to come up with comics that were funny enough for them, because they have their own specific style, where it's like a build up. It's still like a bait and switch style humor, where you lead the reader along, like they think the reader goes like, I know where this is going, and then it's not. It's going somewhere, and it's just like a surprise all of a sudden. That's the humor that they want.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's tricky to learn that.
Yeah. Do you think? I mean, like,
Mad
now is in kind of a precarious situation. But like, do you think that was something that they should have moved away from? As far as like that sort of.
I mean, because
it is somewhat predictable. You're right. Like it is. Like we're going down this line, and now it's something different.
I'm frozen on my screen, like the one that I'm recording on, but it'll be fine. We were talking about sort of like the predictability of certain like strips that they want, where it's sort of I forget the term you used. Not switcheroo is what I want to use, but
yeah. Well, that works.
Use something more professional sounding.
Yeah, I remember your question was, do I think that they should have like switched it up? But I actually think that the last few issues of like that Bill Morrison was editing, he did like 3 or something before they just kind of they fired him and let it go to shit.
Yeah.
It was good. I thought he was doing a great job with it.
Yeah, certain. I kind of. It seemed like, from an outsider's perspective, that they put him, they had him captain a sinking ship. I really liked the reboot. I was nervous about it. But I thought that they made some really good changes. I think a lot of the design changes, like even like redoing the logo, I was going to say a small thing like that. That was a pretty huge change. I liked that, like the whole cover page, putting letters in the back. And like, I think that with like even before he came in, there were some other changes that they started to do. Like, I think the strip club was great because it went back to sort of the cartooning. I mean, like, as I go through and read all of like the things, like it's interesting to see at the start, the Kurtzman years, it was a comic book. And then they moved into like this magazine format where it's mostly lampooning magazine content. And then they started getting into movies and television.
Yeah.
So it was nice to bring that back, especially with a lot of the older cartoonists who weren't producing any work. But yeah, I just, sometimes I mean, like, I'm just kind of bummed out that it's on its way out. Like, I still have a subscription. But
me too.
Yeah. It's, talking about Kurtzman, because Kurtzman was mostly the writer, right?
Yeah, he was the writer. He would plot the comics out for everybody.
Okay.
So, like, have you ever seen his breakdowns before?
No.
Kind of like loose breakdowns for the artists to follow. Do you know like what a thumbnail sketch is? It's like a little he would do that for all the artists, and then they would just follow that. Because apparently he was very controlling about the storytelling, and the only person he would really let get away with goofy stuff was Will Elder.
Yeah,
because Will Elder was so out of his mind, and he would add all these insane little, like the chicken fat stuff, like all the little gags in there that Kurtzman would just crack up about and just like leave them in there. So he gave more leeway to Elder, but Elder was really funny. I mean, Elder's like he's like the inventor of the style of Mad, and the other artists that were working with Harvey on it, those guys were all from like EC Comics, so they were like doing like war comics and adventure comics and horror comics, and then all of a sudden they had to try and do humor comics, and that can be kind of tricky, man, because not everybody can draw funny.
Yeah,
it's
fun. Like Will Elder, I think there's a photograph of him and Al Jaffe in high school.
Oh yeah,
have you seen it?
Yeah, it's great.
Will Elder looks like a character that Will Elder would draw.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. Yeah, I love that. And there's another cartoonist. So I love that grotesque stuff. I think it's like, with Brown Bear, like the stuff where he's like, I'm at the juice factory. And then he's at a blood bank.
Yeah.
That grotesque stuff cracks me up. But another one that an artist that I absolutely love is Basil Wolverton.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I could just stare at his stuff forever because it's to me there's some artists or writers where it's like, oh yeah, I could see where they get that idea, or I could see how that's done, but like with him, I can't imagine being able to create something like that.
And he was living in the Pacific Northwest, like he was doing that stuff through the mail. Which was
so he wasn't even like in New York with them?
No, just like writing him letters and then hire him to do stuff.
Yeah, like
just off on his own. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I got to ask a question for you, which is, what was the first issue of Mad that you saw? Like, what was your exposure to Mad?
I think a lot of the Mad magazines I first saw came from my uncle. He had not a bunch of humor. He loved Mad magazine, and I think he also had some like National Lampoon magazines.
Oh yeah,
but those were over my head. So I was not even interested in them. But I think it was probably like a super special, and it was the cover that they reused it, but it's like Alfred E. Newman and two other guys in a shower, and the gag is that the two guys on either side, their ass cheeks are pale and white, and the rest of them is tan, and Alfred E. Newman, like all of it is tan except for his ass cheeks.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah,
classic gag.
Well, and it's like those are I like those visual gags a lot. Like one of my favorite artists was Norman Mingo. I get a glare on that, so it's kind of hard to see. But that was probably my favorite cover artist because he was like, his visual gags, I think, were the best. I mean, like some of them were just so subtle, and he's just like a very beautiful painter, I guess. I'm not sure. I don't have that like artistic eye to like, I'm learning a lot as I review all of these Mad magazines, and I'm learning things like duotone. I didn't even know that was a thing.
There was a Mad magazine exhibit at the Billy Ireland Cartoon Library when I was living in Ohio just a couple years ago, and they had a lot of his original paintings, the original covers up there, and they were just like so close to the printed version. It was amazing. It's like there was no changes really, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think that's like something that I didn't appreciate entirely is the quality of Mad printing. Because I was digging through old comic books and I found an issue of Plop by DC.
Yeah.
You know, and they had a lot of the same artists like would come over, and it's like the line work and the colors don't match up in my issue. Like they're just totally off, and it's I mean, you go through all of Mad history, and the print quality is really, really good. Like you can tell there was like a great deal of care that went into it.
Yeah, my exposure to the very early Mad stuff was from these issues. I actually pulled them out of my long box to show you. They did these reprints. Have you ever seen this before?
Yeah, absolutely. I own a bunch of those.
Yeah, they just reprinted like all the original Mads, and it's the best way to read this material. It's just like in newsprint, and I have 4 of them, and this is like how I first learned about the early Mad stuff was through those.
Yeah, those I was blown away when I first read those ones because it was and that when they were releasing those, that's probably about the time where I started reading them regularly. But it was still like, it was my uncle's like old ones with like the brown paper, like recycled paper on the cover. But the stories in there, like I forget the name of it, but I think it's a Kurtzman story about the advanced civilization, and they're living in like these wheelchairs, these hover chairs.
Yeah.
It's essentially WALL-E. Like when WALL-E came out, I was blown away. Because,
that's true.
Yeah, and that story ends with like one of these guys who is tasked with saving the world or something, but his wheelchair tips over and he doesn't have the strength to get out. And you know, the technology that was going to save society is ultimately what doomed them. And it was like, I saw WALL-E, it was like, they stole this. This isn't fair. I've read this before. There's a love story in it.
You've got to do videos on Panic, the Mad imitation that was by the same publisher as Mad.
Yeah, I don't have any issues of those, but
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have. Well, there are. I mean, I collected exclusively Mad magazine. And so like my uncle and I had this joke where we had a stack of Cracked magazines and we'd just mail them back and forth to each other for like holidays. Like, no, get these away from me. But I think like Panic is one that I want to maybe do some videos about. There's a guy that comments on my videos pretty regularly, and he has like encyclopedic knowledge about all those old humor magazines.
Yeah.
So I think I've like created a little list of things that I want to go through.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of material in that whole scene, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and those Mad paperbacks, like, do you have any of those? I mean, you find those things everywhere. Yeah,
well, and it's they are. And I love them too. I got like 80 of them or something. I am trying to like get a complete collection, which mostly of the magazine. I don't like I like the paperback ones, but I want a complete collection of the magazine. Which is going to be that's going to be tough. But I have one of the I don't know if Kurtzman was. I think he may have still been on it, but it was Mad number 16. That's the only comic-sized issue that I have. So
what the cover look like on that one?
It was it's the cover of a newspaper.
Oh yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, and I flipped through it once, and then I was like, I'm not going to read this. I have to keep this like sealed away. I have to be.
Well, this is off topic though. Do you like Humbug?
Yeah, well, Humbug, that was the one that Hugh Hefner put out, right?
No, that was Trump.
Oh,
Humbug is the one that they all self-published together after they left Mad.
No,
Or after
see, that's
Trump.
like,
Yeah, after Trump folded.
I gotta get like a notepad here. See, that's like, that's one of the things that's been awesome about like doing these videos is like learning a lot, not only about the art, but also about like the work that all these other guys have put out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a big reason why I wanted to interview you is like, one, hear some of your experiences about being an artist for Mad, but also because like I want to learn a lot more about how this art is created.
Yeah.
You know, because it is fascinating, like all of these like tools and tricks that they used. But
Yeah, you got to get the artist edition of Mad too. Do you have that? Where it's like all shot from the original art?
no, I have the Russ Cochran.
Oh, okay.
Collection. But
Yeah.
I don't know if that is the same thing. I've like flipped through a couple pages, but
Mhm.
I haven't like sat down to read it. But I mean, like those are like they're this artist proof size. I think.
Yeah, they're giant. I remember my girlfriend was really mad at me when that book arrived here at the house. She's like, "Where are you going to put that book?" I'm like, I'll find a place. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's just like I couldn't help it. Like I was like, I have to have this.
Yeah.
Like even if like I had to put it underneath the bed or something, like I have to have this.
Yeah. What did you call that one? The
Artist edition.
artist edition. Okay.
You can find it for relatively cheap compared to the other ones.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of the Mad artists, like you were saying, they came over from like Two Fisted Tales and I forget the other ones, but yeah, like all the like suspense stories.
Tales from the Crypt, that kind of stuff.
And I mean, like that art is I don't know, like I was watching some YouTube video and somebody was talking about like Darwin Cook and how his art style is, it like evokes a time period, but nobody actually drew that way. And I don't know, like some of those artists at EC drew mighty close to it. That and like at Wiz Comics with Captain Marvel, like they did like the squinty eyes all the time. A lot.
Yeah,
he did, but
yeah, he does do squinty eyes. Now that I think about it,
it's like everybody's looking right into the sun.
It's true. What the heck?
Yeah, but so do you have a favorite artist? Well, like a favorite artist from Mad, and then just generally a favorite artist without restrictions.
Well, Dan Clowes is one of my favorite artists, but he worked for Cracked.
Yeah.
My favorite Mad artist, probably Will Elder. I had that Fantagraphics book that came out called The Mad Playboy of Art, and it was just all about Will Elder.
Yeah.
And I bought that in 2005 or something, and that was still pretty new to comics. Mm-hmm. And I just like that book was an education to me. Like I could not believe what an amazing art. Like he could mimic anything. Like he was mimicking like Norman Rockwell paintings for Mad Goose, you know?
Yeah. I was going to say somebody said that, and I realized I think you said that in one of your videos.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is fascinating to see. Like when Mort Drucker died, I'm sure you knew that, but it's I was looking back at his first appearance in Mad Magazine, and it was interesting to see where he started at stylistically and then what he moved into.
Yeah.
He was doing, I mean, it kind of was like a house style of Mad Magazine. And, you know, it's, I'm fascinated by artists that can do that can have something that is theirs, but then also move into these other realms, like without jumping any hurdles. It's like, all right, now I'll oil paint.
Right, I know. And that's what happens to a lot of cartoonists for some reason. Like when they get older, they get really into oil painting. Mm-hmm. Maybe because it's like a slower thing. You have more patience. You're just kind of, it's more relaxing.
Yeah.
It must be. I don't know. I've never, yeah.
I was looking up information on the artists that drew. I think he was the guy who drew Monroe. Do you remember that from?
Yeah, Joel Slifer.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
wait, or was that the? Who am I thinking of? There's a guy that worked for Ren and Stimpy.
Maybe thinking of two different. I was thinking of Monroe, like a little paperback story that came out in like the 50s.
Oh yeah, so I'm talking about in Mad Magazine.
Oh, and that's Bill Ray.
Bill Ray, and now he goes by William Ray. And
Yeah,
he does oil painting.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's oil painting, and then like this like really beautiful abstract oil painting. As like going through his website, it's amazing. He has like these pictures of like just like the body language of like Superman sitting on a bench. It's like like his shoulders slumped, like he's Clark Kent or something.
Yeah, he's incredible. Man, I forgot about Monroe, but that was a great little series that ran in Mad in the early 2000s, I guess.
Yeah, and that was probably one of my favorites. Like when I look back, like for me, that's like that was really Mad Magazine for me. Like when I would open it up, it was like, where is Monroe?
Yeah, and it hasn't been collected or anything, and that's kind of the shame about it, about doing work for Mad, is that it doesn't belong to you anymore. So like, I don't have the right to reprint any of the comics I did for Mad.
Oh,
like it's sued by Warner Brothers or something,
Yeah.
So that stuff is just gone unless they ever wanted to do like a best of the strip club or something and include some of it in there.
Yeah.
But there was like an anti-Trump edition of Mad they put out recently that had one of the Brown Bear strips in it. I was pretty delighted to see that.
Oh yeah, well that was the last Brown Bear you put in, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I lost interest after that, honestly.
What's that?
I just kind of lost interest in trying to get strips published in there after that comic. I was just kind of like interested in like doing the like graphic novels and things like that, and I wasn't interested in like doing a lot of work that was probably going to get rejected. It's like 1/5 of the work I was going to do would get published. I just kind of got frustrated with that and was like, I'm just going to do my own stuff. So that's why that was the last one.
Yeah, I could see why that's frustrating. Like I can't deal with rejection on a non-professional basis.
Yeah. It's about people who do stuff for the New Yorker. Like their life is just rejection. They're just constantly making all these comics and cartoons, and then like maybe like one will get bought.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
That's one, like as a consumer of the product, that's not something that you think of. You think like it's so clever and creative. It's just they come up with this and they send it in and that's it.
Yeah.
To write and to draw your own strip has to be, it is a huge effort, I imagine, to like go through that entire process and then to say, nah.
Yeah.
Did they get feedback, or was it just something where it's just like, nah?
Well, sometimes they would say, this joke would work if you do it this way. They would tell you to like restructure it a little bit. And they were usually right about that. I mean, they were pretty funny people in that office.
Yeah.
So a lot of the comic, and I was like, I mean, if you got that far with them, where they're just like basically like, yeah, just change this or whatever, and then we'll buy it. You're like, yes, absolutely, because it paid very well at Mad. Yeah. And like I was living off my comics, and I was pretty broke, so I would get really excited when I get that email because it was basically a yes.
Yeah.
You just have to pick something. So yeah.
All right. So the like what you were saying, like the ones that you turned in, they bought, you don't own those, but do you own the character of Brown Bear, or by virtue of them buying the strip, do they own the character?
I'm pretty sure they own the character.
Yeah.
They could have a different artist do it if they wanted.
Yeah. All right. Because I mean, that's the other thing is that that I noticed. It sort of made me realize that the lack of ownership is that seeing things like that certain artists are just totally ingrained in society, like Al Jaffe's Snappy Answers. He didn't start on that. Sergio Aragones, Mad Look At, he didn't start that. And so it's like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
None of what I thought I knew was true. And so it's interesting to me to see that. And of course, Spy versus Spy has gone through
several artists, right?
Yeah, I hope Projas's family gets something from that, because that's really like, I mean, that was his. he did come up with the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's something like what was that? I always say Simon and Schuster, but who is the Superman?
Siegel and Schuster.
Siegel and Schuster, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about like your art too. I actually, the extent of my knowledge of your creations was limited to Mad Magazine.
Wow.
I did just put in an order on Amazon for One Dirty Tree.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I was going to buy what is that, Font? How do you pronounce the Font Bukowski?
Fonte Bukowski.
Fonte Bukowski.
Yeah.
I was going to buy that, but I decided not to after I watched your video about One Dirty Tree. And it was, it seemed like, it kind of goes back to that Kurtzman picture where like you can see the emotion, like when you were talking about that.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, we don't have to like talk about all those details or whatever, but it felt like something that was very special to you, even though it might now be painful to look at and go through.
That's a good way to sum it up.
So I went with that one.
Well, I hope you liked it.
I'm sure I will. I mean, I really like your style, especially like it's, I don't, I like, as somebody who's not an artist, I don't want to describe it in a way that would sound like insulting, because I don't, that wouldn't be my intent, but it was like almost like deceptively simple, where you might look at it and think, I could draw that. But the more you look at it, it's like there are details and perspective within the art that is like masterful. And
well, I'm totally okay with people like looking at my art and saying I could do that, because like if you can inspire people to be like, I can do that too, then you're just going to get more people to draw. And I think that's great,
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I try to keep things, I try and simplify as much as I can with my drawings. That's like the hardest thing to do though, because it's so hard to just leave something alone. And so, I struggle with that, but.
So, I kind of want to like, what is the Fate Bukowski? What is that? Like, that's a character in it, but I mean, like, so I know the name Bukowski.
So Fonte is John Fonte. That's where that name comes from.
Okay.
He's the writer, the like alcoholic writer who inspired Charles Bukowski. So this guy is inspired by both of them, mainly Bukowski. So he's decided to just change his name into Fonte Bukowski, like in homage to his heroes.
Yeah.
And he's a terrible writer who thinks he's really great, and he's a fake alcoholic, and just kind of a loser. But it's really, I think it's good. I mean, all I can say is it's my most popular comic. Like I did this book. I did the first book that was just kind of a goof about this character, and then it just sold like super well. Like it was in 3 printings, which for Fantagraphics is like amazing.
Yeah.
So I did 2 more books of the story, and then is that a cat?
I was hoping you didn't hear that.
Yeah, that's all right. So anyway, it's just like it's a humor book. It's really, but like it goes beyond just like the surface of like making fun of like a loser writer. It gets deeper as the stories go on, and so it was nominated for an Eisner Award, and I don't really know what to say about it. I don't want to be self-aggrandizing, but I think it's good.
No, it's good to be self-aggrandizing sometimes. I mean, like, especially if you're proud of the work, it's.
Yeah, I am proud of it. It's like 500 pages. This book right here, the collection of all of them, it's like 500 pages. It's a giant book.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The and that like the design of that dust jacket, like because there's a publisher that's like their thing, right? Because I remember on my dad's bookshelf there were books like that.
Yeah, Library of American Authors, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
And we were making fun of that. Each volume is making fun of a different style of book.
Oh.
And so for the collection, they just ripped off that, which is like a collection of authors' work,
Yeah. The what, like, when you're describing that, it's that you're like this loser who's like aspiring to be something that he's not, in an inauthentic way. Like, what's interesting about that is that I remember, like, I think like Norm Macdonald was talking about impressions and impersonations of people. He said like the most successful impersonations are from people who like the person that they're impersonating, even if they're making fun of them.
Yeah,
you have to like the character that you're portraying, and so like with this, it's like the way you first described him is like just this awful person, like so you wouldn't want to be around. But then
it's true.
Him in such a way, like, I care about this character and I want to continue the story, and I want other people to like him the way I like him.
Well, that's the trick, though. Like the first book, when it came out, people would write to me and be like, "I don't understand. Like, do you like this guy or not? Like, is this guy's horrible?" But then the second book kind of, it kind of helps you understand why he is the way he is. So by the third book, you really like him. Like, you go on this like ride when you read it. Like, you hate this character at first, and then as you go along, you start to really kind of understand like who he is, like why he changed his name, where like his love of writing comes from, all those things. And so by the end of it, hopefully you like him,
Yeah. That's a lot to ask. If by the end of the book you like this character.
Yeah. Maybe before the ending, you might like him before, depending on the person.
So is this, at this point, are you done telling that story of this character, or?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I'm going to do any more. I'm going to move on and do other stuff. So there's other stuff to draw.
Yeah. And like, what are you working on now?
I'm working on this enormous book that's not funny really, but it's about the history, like it's a biography of the Mormon prophet Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
And like how the Latter-day Saints were formed, like how that church was formed and established. So it's a big one. It's a big book. But yeah, I've been in the middle of that for a couple of years now, so it just never ends.
Yeah, I feel like anything historical, like there's a point where it's like you just have to like say, well, now I've reached the end. It's not the end, but
yeah. Well, I know the end. I mean, I'm doing his entire life.
Yeah.
So like I know what the end is, but it's like how many details do I really want to fit into this story? Like what's really important to there, like so it doesn't get bogged down,
Okay. All right. It's about just him, not the history.
Yeah, it's about. Okay. Yeah, it's just like it ends when he dies, but it's just about like his version of the church.
Yeah.
And how the golden plates were found and all that stuff. How the Book of Mormon was written.
Yeah. That's like, what made you want to do that?
I was raised in the church, so I have a special kind of personal interest in learning about it. I'm no longer a member of the church. When my parents divorced, my mom pulled me out of the church when I was like 10 or 11 or something.
Yeah.
So but it's always been like something in the back of my head, like, maybe I should have still been in this church. I don't know. Like, I wasn't really sure about how I felt about it because I was too young to really think about it. So as an adult, like my way of studying this church and the religion is to do this graphic novel, because I'm really stupid. Like the only way that I really learn stuff is by using my art to learn about it. Like I if I draw it, I'm like internalizing it more.
Yeah.
But like I actually feel like because I'm writing about Joseph Smith, I'm getting to actually know him and know the characters in this story and this piece of history. And it's been really enlightening. It's taught me a lot about it. But yeah, it hasn't made me want to go back to church, though. I'll say that much.
Yeah. Well, do you work digitally or do you work on like Bristol board? How do you create?
Yeah, I work on Bristol board that I cut down to size because I work really small.
Okay.
So I get a piece of Bristol board, and I have like a couple templates that I use to cut it down smaller and stuff.
Okay, so you're all like kind of painting ink and pen type thing.
Yeah, so I'll do like watercolor, colored pencil, and then I'll scan that in, and on a separate layer in Photoshop, I'll put flat colors down. Okay. So I just want that like messiness in my art with like just like messy ink and stuff like that. But it's just about texture. I like a lot of texture in artwork. I don't like flat computer coloring.
Yeah, I think that I feel like I can tell the difference. That's bullshit though. Like I can't. But I feel like I can when somebody is drawing it by hand versus like computer drawn. Sometimes it's very obvious.
Yeah.
And it's like they lean into that like the digital art thing, and it looks cool and it works. I do like the sort of pen on paper style.
Well, I sell originals too, so I kind of have to draw with real tools because I like to sell the artwork after it's done.
Yeah. Where do you sell your originals off of? From where?
Usually from this website, KilgoreBooks.com, which is like a publisher of some of the comics I did. My friend Dan runs it. Yeah.
So like with mainstream comics, everything's in turmoil. Like, there's nobody to mail books out. Everything's shut down. But as an independent creator, like, is there anything that you hope could come out of like this situation of like this sudden upheaval of the industry?
The only thing I can really hope for is that people that would normally just go for superhero comics, I would hope that they would stretch out a little bit and try out more alternative stuff that's outside of their comfort zone. Because if the comic shops do close down, I hope that people still support their bookstores and just read graphic novels, and like check out other stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's no new comics, but there's still new graphic novels coming out. My publisher, Fantagraphics Books, put out a few new books this month. So
yeah. Well, I think it's whether I think like a lot of people, it's not. I'll speak for myself. I love sequential art. I love the art form. Primarily, what I've read in my life are Mad Magazine, but then superhero books. And I've like dipped my toes into like more independent work, and I've enjoyed it. And it's like, I think ultimately that's what it comes down to, is I like the art form more than just the subject matter. And I think that like, hopefully more people will realize that there's like great stories to be told within this art form. So what have you been reading lately?
I'm reading this new book by this artist named David Collier, and it's a biography of this guy named Gary Topp, who was like a rock, like a band promoter. Like he had like a rock venue. He was like a promoter of this rock venue, I guess, back in like the 70s and stuff. So he was involved with like a lot of famous bands. It's a graphic novel, and it came out from Conundrum Press like just this month. So I've been reading that. And it's pretty good. It's called Top. Yeah.
Taking a lot of notes during this interview.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite alternative cartoonists.
Is there like, who did you as a young man, like getting into illustrating and cartooning? What, like who inspired you? Who did you look for as like maybe styles to emulate, or maybe that you emulated subconsciously?
Oh, I mean, not even subconsciously. I was like blatantly ripping off Robert Crumb when I first started drawing comics, and like as I discovered more and more alternative cartoonists, I started to shed that a little bit. But when Robert Crumb is your gateway into comics as an artist, you'll always have a Crumb look to your work. Like you can spot other artists that came in through the same doorway that you came in. Tons of them. So he was the artist that I first saw that his drawings just blew my mind. I couldn't believe it, and I was so inspired. I just blatantly ripped him off. Like I would just try and redraw his like little cityscape backgrounds.
Yeah.
All the panels and stuff, and yeah, I wanted my work to look just like his.
You've seen that documentary, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, how would you describe yourself as a cartoonist?
That's a real tough one, man. How self-aware am I? I guess. Yeah, I don't know. That's tough because I don't really stick to one thing. Like I do funny stuff, and then I try and do more serious work as well. So I guess the only prolific word that comes to my mind. You know,
yeah.
I put a lot of work out. But it's too tough for somebody else to say about me. I can't describe what I do. You know.
Yeah. Well, there's like part of me that always feels like a twinge of guilt when I describe, like, well, I mean, I described your work as deceptively simple, and I was
that's great. Yeah,
I didn't want to say that because it's like,
great, love it,
very good, awesome. But there's I know, like in literature, like when you're analyzing it, there's like all these lenses you can look at it, and then there's like this sort of like newer one where it's like, when the author writes his work, he's no longer attached to it, and it's up to the audience to be able to interpret it. Mm-hmm. And like when I was in college and they were explaining that to me, I was like, that's shitty. Like, I think that the author, the creator, should have some decision or input on how he is or how they are interpreted or perceived. Mm-hmm. Like, like opinions are one thing, but as far as like what is my work about, I think, or like who am I as an artist, should be up to them.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you don't want to say. You gotta just let people interpret it the way they're going to interpret it. You know. Yeah. And everybody brings their own things, their own baggage to art. So every painting you look at looks different to you than anybody else.
That is true.
That's why some jokes are funny to some, not funny to other people, depending on their own life experiences. You know?
Yeah. You had the Lincoln book, and was the Lincoln one biographical as well?
Yeah, it's a true story, but I just chose one specific thing about it. So I just did his battle with depression, and even though that was ongoing with like a bunch of like courtroom stuff, little drama. I just all that stuff out. Only did a graphic novel about his personal struggles at that time. Yeah. So yeah.
Why Lincoln? Like why? What?
I just thought that was really interesting. Somebody who's such a symbol, like a somebody who's we don't even really see him as a human being anymore. He's just like basically a Coca-Cola sign or Mouse or something. To bring him back down to earth in that kind of way was really interesting. It was a fascinating challenge. I'm just gonna show him as a depressed guy. like we're not gonna talk about the Civil War. It's just gonna be him being bummed out in Springfield, Illinois. You know?
Yeah, it's interesting to like as an adult learn about. I don't know like if our historians have gotten better in the past 20 years or something, but it just seems like more and more information comes out about people who lived like farther back.
Yeah.
And like there's like the Hamilton musical, and it's like whoever cared about him.
I know. Everybody does.
Yeah. And it's like we know about Lincoln's depression, and the fact that he shared a bed with his best friend.
Yep.
Like all of this other.
That's in the book.
Yeah. So like, do you see yourself after you're done with the Joseph Smith book, like again moving down like the kind of biographical route, or?
Well, I might just go back to doing funny stuff again. I'm already missing that. Yeah. But I still have. I'm also in the middle of doing these with a writer. I'm just illustrating them, like a graphic novel series about the Grateful Dead. So it's gonna be like 4 volumes. I just finished the first one. So that'll take up like the next 5 years or something. But while I'm working on that, I can also do my own stuff.
Yeah.
That's how I schedule it.
That was like that. Just what you said there was kind of mind blowing to me. That so like one of those has been done, and there's 3 more now that you're going to be working on. That will be the next 5 years.
Yeah.
How does that feel as an artist? To have like 5 years of your life planned out.
As an artist, it feels great because you need security. Yeah. I know that next 5 years, I'm gonna have income, and that is amazing. I love that. I'm afraid for that to be over. So I thank God came along, because it's feast or famine in this life.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's like, people look at almost all artists with that sort of like poetic lens of, getting a contract for 5 years could be stifling to creativity, but it's also like, I need to.
Yeah. Well, it's the honestly thing I'll be doing. While I was doing the Grateful Dead book, I was also working on Joseph Smith book at the same time. And so I'm able to schedule it. As long as I do 11 new Grateful Dead every month. I can work on other stuff the other months. So
and I suppose it isn't like there are not. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe like as hard of deadlines as if, like if you were working for like one of the big 2 or something. Like if you don't meet your deadline, it's like.
Right. Every month issue come out. You better be on time.
You better draw fast, man.
It's not like that.
Going back to like the brown bear stuff, like that sort of sense of humor that like it's kind of dark and funny. Like does that encapsulate like? Do you feel like your sense of humor is still around that area, or you mentioned like when you were in your 20s, you were a bit darker? But
I might be able to access it. But I don't generally. Well, I think I'm a little lighter now than I was when I'm writing something funny. Back then, it was like shocking was just like a more easy go-to humor. Just like I'm just gonna do something really shocking and dark, and that'll be funny. But it might be a little harder to find something really funny out of just living like kind of mundane domestic life or something. Like that takes real skill though. So
one. So I mean, like when I think about, there's my favorite one of the brown bear. Was the way you were kind of describing it is that it was almost like too shocking or something, but I think that there was a mature restraint to much of it, and this might be a surprising example, but the one with Unibrow Bear where he was so I'm going to teach you a very funny prank.
Yeah.
Your friend will wind up with covered in pee. Warm jar of water, and you put their hand on it, and then you piss on them.
Yeah.
To me, that was like, it's like shocking and it's gross, but it's also like there is a restraint to it.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe
I gotta say there's one. Did you see the one where brown bear is like walking in the snow flower?
Yes. Yeah.
That's.
That also, like, I loved that. I thought that was wonderful, and it was the decomposing corpse of a
clown.
Maybe that tells a lot about where I am right at but I thought that was like a very amusing gag. Cool, man. Thank you so much, and hopefully we can talk again.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Take care.
The next time I'm coming with those hard-hitting questions.
That's right. Cool, man. I'll be ready.
All right, that was it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please let me know. If you didn't, if you think that there are ways that I can improve, there's definitely ways I can improve my interviewing. So if you want some constructive criticism, please leave that in the comments below. If you have you happen to know anybody that worked for Mad Magazine, was a contributor to them, please let me know, because I would love to do some more of these interviews. With that, thank you so much for watching. Toodaloo.